Hello students, hope you are having a joyful learning at the comfort of your home. Let us begin with the food and its sources last part, that is spices, beverages and oils. These are also some of the products that you get from the plants. Spices are used for flavoring of food. What do you mean by flavoring of food? It adds more taste to the food. So spices are used to increase or enhance the taste of the food. From where are they obtained? Means from where do you get them? As I discussed earlier, in the plant you get it from various parts. Like some of the spices you get from fruits. An example is chili, bark. That is, you have the stem, the outer part of the stem. That's called as the bark. You get cinnamon from bark, flower buds, cloves, or lavang, what you see at your home. It will be a small bud which is dried. So that's also a spice. Stigma, which will be there in the flower. So saffron you get from stigma. Then from roots you get turmeric, roots and rhizomes. From seeds you get fennel. Fennel is your soft, what you eat after food. Then you get mustard, you get black pepper also from the seeds. So these are the different spices that you use it to flavor your food or increase the taste of your food. And whenever these spices are used, they're used in less quantity because they have a very strong aroma and they also have a very strong taste. They add a strong taste to the food. So therefore they used in little quantities for the food. The next comes the beverages. Beverages includes tea, coffee, juice and several other drinks. Tea is obtained from tea leaves and coffee from coffee beans. Juices are obtained from fruits. So you drink these beverages either when you want to feel refreshed. Yes, so the drinks other than water, what you drink to feel refreshed and which is obtained from the plant parts, they are called as juices. Oils also are obtained from plants. So how do you get the oils? You get it from the seeds. Seeds of sunflower, groundnut also give oil. What they have been done, they extract the oil from them. If you have seen, if you want, you can try an experiment. Take some groundnuts in a paper piece, fold the paper and smash the groundnuts. If you open it, you can see oil patches on the paper, which shows that oil is present in the groundnut seeds. So is this clear? Again, what else do you get from plants? That is spices, beverages and oils. The next part is food habits of animals. What do you mean by food habits? Like how we have habits of eating foods. That is, we eat different kinds of food. Especially when we eat plants, we are called as vegetarians. And those who consume animals, they are called non-vegetarians. In the same way, as animals are also heterotrophs, that is, they cannot make their own food. They have to depend on plants. So when they depend on plants, they eat variety of food. So based on that, the animals are classified into different, like herbivores. These are the animals which eat only plants and plant products. So they are called as herbivores. Example, elephant, rabbit, horse, cow, etc. So now in these animals, as I told you, they just eat plants, and plants are not very, what you say, hard or very difficult to tear. Okay, they're just soft. So they don't need any tearing mouth parts, that is teeth. They just need strong molars. So therefore they have molars. Molars is the teeth in your mouth. What you have the big teeth in your mouth. Same way, even in these herbivores, they have strong molars which will help them to grind the plant food better. Is that clear? So what they do is they grind the food better and then swallow it, and that process is called as mastication. Means when the food is crushed and grounded in the mouth, it becomes soft. So that process of chewing the food is also called as mastication. Now in herbivores, you also have some animals which eat something else other than leaves. That is, for example, a squirrel, it eats nuts. And if you have seen nuts, they're quite hard. So in order to bite and break those nuts, the squirrels have sharp teeth in the front of each jaw, that is on top two and down two. So they have sharp cutting teeth. This is specifically in some such animals like squirrel. Then in some insects you have a tube-like structure called as proboscis. Yesterday I told you when a bee or a butterfly goes close to a flower, it puts this proboscis, which is like a straw, into the flower and sucks the nectar from the flower. And what does this bee do with that nectar? It makes it into honey. So proboscis is also present in mosquitoes also. That's why they can suck our blood. So this is about herbivores. Next comes the carnivores. Now carnivores are the animals that eat other animals. They are also called as carnivorous animals. There are many number of carnivorous animals. You have tiger, fox, wolf, jackal, snake, eagle, spider. These are all examples of carnivorous animals. So how are their mouth parts modified, or how are their mouth parts? Like I told you, in herbivores they eat only grass. So they don't need strong tearing teeth. They need strong molars. Now in flesh what happens? You like the skin of animals, they have to tear it. So in order to tear that, they have canines. Canines are the teeth. If you have a pet dog, you can see the canines in them. When they open their mouth, the side pointing teeth are called the canines, with which they help to tear the meat. These animals have fewer molars for chewing, so they don't have very strong molars as in case of herbivores. They have canines that are sharp and which will help to tear the flesh. So this is the eating habits of carnivores. Now in carnivores, other than animals, you also have birds which eat flesh. So in these birds, instead of teeth, they have curved beaks. Yes, if you have seen the bird beak of some like eagle or owl, the beak is curved and pointed, which will help them to tear the flesh. And also in some animals like frog or lizard, they have sticky tongue to catch the insect. They will put the tongue out. Yes, they have a very long tongue. Once the insect sits on the tongue, they'll roll it back into their mouth. So it is sticky in order to make sure that the insect doesn't fly off from their catch. Next carnivore is also a snake, which has flexible jaws. Flexible means it can stretch its jaws to a wide extent, allowing them to open their mouth wide and swallow. If you have seen any National Geographic channel, you can see there how a snake catches a rat and completely into its mouth. Like how we take a bite, it doesn't take a bite, it directly swallows it as a whole. So they have very flexible jaws. So this was about carnivores which eat only flesh. The next comes the omnivores. Here omnivores means they eat both plants as well as animals. So omnivores or omnivorous animals. Can you name some? That is, we itself, human beings are omnivores. That's why some are vegetarian, some are non-vegetarian. And those who eat non-vegetarian, would they consume both, right? They do eat the vegetables also, and they do eat flesh also. So omnivores eat both. Their mouth parts are in such a way that they can eat both plants and animals. That means they have strong molars as well as sharp canines also, in which they can tear their food. So other examples of omnivores are crow. Yes, if you have seen it, it will be eating both plants and as well as animals. Bear is also an example of omnivore. The next type is the scavengers. The scavengers play a very important role in the eating habits as they eat on the dead. Yes, these carnivores, what they do, they hunt and they eat. But the scavengers, they eat which is already dead. So why they play an important role? If the dead organism remains on the land, it will start rotting, it will start spoiling, which will lead to foul smell. And if the dead animal is died due to some disease, it might also spread the disease. So these scavengers, what they do is they eat them so that the area gets cleaned up. That's why they are very important in the environment. Which are the examples? Vultures, hyena are some examples of scavengers. The next important group is the decomposers. What they do is they break down dead and decaying organisms. That is, when a plant or animal dies, its body is broken down, means it becomes smaller with the help of decomposers. So what these decomposers do, the nutrients present in the dead body will be returned to the soil because of these decomposers. They grow on them. If you have seen mushroom and bacteria, they grow on these dead things. Or if you see fungus, what is fungus? Which grows on your bread. If you have seen green substance, that is fungus. So it is a decomposer. It will take all the things that is spoiling on it and give the nutrients back to the soil. So even decompose play an important role in recycling, because if that rotting thing remains on the ground, I told you how it will impact the other organisms. The next part is the food chain. What do you mean by food chain? It's a sequence which shows how living things in an environment are related to each other based on their feeding habits. That means in an environment, now air is an environment, land is an environment. Now if you take an example of land as an environment, who are the producers here, or who make their own food on land? Plants. So these plants are called as producers because they make their own food. Then who eats the plants? For example, a grasshopper. Because it is a herbivore, it will eat the grass. So it's the primary consumer. Then who eats the grasshopper? A frog. It is a carnivore. So it becomes the secondary consumer, because first grass is eaten by grasshopper, so primary. Grasshopper is eaten by frog, so the frog becomes secondary consumer. And who eats the frog? A snake. Snake can be called as the tertiary, like third in the food chain. So frog is eaten by snake, so it becomes a tertiary consumer. And usually tertiary consumer can be omnivore, or it can be carnivore also. Yes. Then who eats this snake? Maybe after it dies, or it can catch it also. A hawk, a eagle can eat a snake. And on top of this eagle, what can grow if it dies? That is a decomposer. This is how a food chain works. That is, they are all interconnected. If one thing also is missing in the food chain, the whole chain will not be balanced. So this is how the food chain works. And always a food chain starts with a producer, and always a producer has to be a plant. Yes, because none of them, other than plants, none of it can make its own food. Therefore a food chain always starts with a producer. So this is all about food and its sources. Hope the lesson is clear. Thank you. That's the end of the lesson.